Hello people, and welcome for my second devlog of The Last Way, my post-apocalyptic solo indie game project. In this episode, I will be making a faction system so that NPCs can have different relationships with each other. But first, why this is important to begin with? Let's take this nuclear throne level as an example. In this scenario, we have enemies like bandits, larvae, and giant scorpions. All the three are hostile to the player. They are enemies after all. But bandits are humanoid like the player, and the monsters are, well, monsters. It would make sense for the monsters to also attack the bandits, since they aren't part of their group. In the case of Nuclear Throne, this is not important to the game, but in the case of The Last Way, it will make a big difference. I already said in the previous episode that the game would be an open world, but one thing that Nuclear Throne made me think about was how to keep the gameplay fun. This is because Nuclear Throne is a roguelike, and every time the game restarts, a new map is procedurally generated. This essentially creates an infinite number of levels and explains why, after so many years playing, I still find the game fun. The Last Way isn't a roguelike, but that doesn't mean I cannot apply techniques learned from roguelikes to it. Let's take the enemies like an example. In games with a predetermined map, that is, non-procedural, it's common to see enemies always placed where developer placed them. No matter how many times you retrace that location, when the enemies respawn, they always be in the same place. That makes returning for a location increasingly tedious. It's a complete opposite of a roguelike. And since The Last Way will eventually have some backtracking, whether returning to a town you already passed through, or re-exploring an area with a new unlocked character, I want to make this journey back as fun as possible, with procedural generation, not in the map, who is predetermined, but in the enemies. On a path, for example, the game might spawn different varieties of monsters, as well bandit camps along the way, which brings us back for the beginning of the conversation. These different enemies should be able to fight with each other, whether it's bandit versus monster or monster versus another type of rival monster. This is interesting because since the enemies generation will be procedural, sometimes you will encounter enemies fighting, sometimes not. You can even try to lure enemies from different factions closer so they fight each other and you gain the upper hand. Finally, this also means that if an enemy enters or is lured into a city area, the guards can fight them. Well, the plan is set. So now, let's actually program the system. But first, if you are liking this video, please like and subscribe. By doing so, you will be helping the game reach more people, and I will be very happy too. I started giving the NPCs these different states: combat, helping an ally, stationary, idle, and working. I used Game Maker's parent system to create a generic NPC that will be the default model for all others. It's worth remembering that every NPC, whether hostile or not, will have the same base, but configured accordingly. The Desert Scorpion doesn't have a job or allies, but I can simply disable these states so they don't occur, instead of having to program new code just for this case. In the combat state, the NPC reproduces the behavior of, well, combat. But this behavior is saved as a function, and I can give the NPC different behaviors simply by changing the behavior name. So, one NPC shoots, another hits from close range, another just run away, etc. Meu gato está miando. Fala aí. Ação. Ação? The help ally state works like this. When an NPC enters combat after approaching an enemy, it will notify nearby allies about the enemy. If the ally is close enough, it will enter combat immediately. However, if it is too far from the enemy but close enough to the ally, it will enter help ally mode and reproduce the help behavior, which is also configurable. The default behavior is for the ally to run towards the enemy coordinates. After all, when it gets close enough to detect it, it will automatically enter combat mode. An NPC in the help state will also call nearby allies, meaning the call for help can continue through a long chain of allies if they are close enough to each other. The standstill state is an intermediate state that occurs when the combat or help state is deactivated. I just thought it would be strange if an NPC had just slashed an enemy and then returned to their shop counter the next frame, as if nothing had happened. After finishing a fight, they will remain still for a few moments and then resume their passive behavior. If the NPC has a job, they will return to work. If they don't have a job, they will enter idle mode. The behavior in the work and idle states is also configurable. So far, the only idle behavior I created is called random walk. The NPC simply chooses a random direction and takes a few steps. The interval between walks and the movement distance have a margin of randomness, so that the NPCs don't all move unnaturally at the same time. Other behaviors could be holding a position, like a guard, or staying near a camp. The job behavior I created to test the mechanics is that of a farmer. You can find NPCs like this in cities or towns that have a plantation. It's very simple. The NPC walks to a random plantation, those green diamonds, spends a while working there, then goes to the well to get water, spends a time collecting water, and returns to work on another random plantation. Now replace the plantation with the well with an anvil and a forge, and you have a blacksmith. Replace them with a mailbox and other NPCs, and you have a mailman. So this code is easily reusable for other professions. So to make it all work, I created a generic NPC object for 4 different factions, a script to configure which factions are allies and which are enemies, and assign a tag with the faction name to the NPC objects. Finally, to test the system, I created a random NPC generator in the room. As you can see, they fight with each other, ask for help, and reproduce idle behavior after stopping fighting. The farmer NPC, on the other hand, flees from the enemy if it enters combat or help mode. If you are curious, these are the detection distances. Why I started programming the faction system before the player? After all, the most common practice in game development is to start by creating the player. It turns out there's a 6th state an NPC can be in, which is the player state. Playable characters are also NPCs and have all their functions. In the game you can form a party of up to 3 characters simultaneously, and switch which characters you are controlling means the other 2 characters will be controlled by CPU, meaning they will be in NPC state. This means they will fight when they see enemies, call each other for help, and when in idle, follow the player. Additionally, unlocked characters will appear in your camp, so you can call them to join the party, so they can also perform some kind of work while in there. I'm thinking about what content should I do next. I would like to develop the combat weapons and abilities of the characters, but it will also be good if I start doing some art for the game. Although it's usually one of the last things to do on development, I think it's better for a YouTube video if the game has some art right at the beginning, so the audience don't need to stare at black backgrounds with colorful squares for a long time. But like I said, I am still thinking. Thank you for watching this far, and until next time.